Tonight's notes are about the French and Indian War, an important war, um, not only in terms of what it does worldwide, but important for what it does here in the American colonies as well. So we've talked a lot about the Navigation Acts, and we know that the colonies were not thrilled with the Navigation Acts. In fact, some of them ignored them and cheated. But problems really started getting worse with Great Britain after the French and Indian War was over. So in your notes, it's really just going to go down a series of questions. It doesn't exactly match the presentation here, but it's got the basics down. We're going to really talk about those here in this video. So we start off with what's going on here, right? What was the French and Indian War? Well, on the one hand, it's actually a worldwide war fought between Britain and France. Those are the two main combatants. So it's really England and France that are fighting worldwide, and there's fighting happening in North America. It's happening in Africa, it's happening in Europe, it's happening in India. So this, in some ways, historians have actually called this the first actual world war, even though we don't call it World War I. It was fought all over the globe. In America, the British and the colonists fought against the French and their Indian allies. Now, the British and the colonists actually had some Indian allies on their side too, because we know that warfare was an area where the British worked together with some Indian groups. So Indians fought on both sides, but we call it the French and Indian War primarily because here in America we were fighting against the French and the Indians. Well, what were we fighting over? Okay. Well, a lot of it had to do with expanding from the colonies that are right on the coastline, that we know where they are because we filled the map in, and wanting to move west into the area by the Great Lakes, into the area called Ohio. And both sides really wanted that same land, the Ohio River Valley and areas of Canada. In addition to that, both sides really wanted to control the valuable fur trade. So you had English traders who were conflicting with French traders and fighting over some of the fur trade areas. And then on top of that, England and France simply didn't like each other. They had been rivals for a very long time, and this is just a continuation of that rivalry. So at the end of the day, what happened? Now we're going to spend a lot of time studying the French and Indian War in tremendous depth, but we need to know roughly what happened. Well, there's fighting in a lot of places in the colonies. Some of them in the British colonies, some of them in the French colonies, but some of the most important battles were at Pittsburgh in the western part of Pennsylvania, and Quebec up in Canada. Some major battles, tough fighting both ways. And long story short, the English win. The English won the war in America, as well as other places in the world. So what was the outcome? And this is where it really gets critical to understand how this impacted us as colonies. Well, England got a lot of land, including Canada and the Ohio River Valley that they were fighting over. So England basically took over the French colonies. France, on the other side of that, lost all of its North American colonies. So all of a sudden, England's got a whole lot more land in North America. The Indians who had been partnered with France no longer had France as an ally. American colonists felt safer since France was gone. And that, combined with the fact that they just gained all this new land, meant that they wanted to move into that new land. Right? They wanted to move west and gain more land for farming, more land for crops. A lot of Americans fought in the war, including George Washington. They gained valuable military experience and training fighting on the side of the British. On top of that, England saw its national debt double because wars are expensive. And so here they are fighting a war all around the world. And they won, but at a heavy, heavy cost. And ominously, right, little foreshadowing here, France was incredibly angry that they lost and would be looking for opportunities to take revenge on the British. So pretty short set of notes here. And for your response question, it's actually typed on the notes for you, so you don't have to type that in. But I want you to think about it. The war cost a lot of money to fight and to win. So imagine that you're a member of Parliament, right? The British government. I want you to think of a plan to help Great Britain make some of that money back, okay? Try to come up with a couple bullet points that would be a logical plan to help you make some of that money back. Your national debt just went way up, and so you owe a lot of money, and you want to try to come up with a way to make as much money as you can to help get your money back.